In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Live Intrigue X. Hi, my name is Tess. Welcome to Dusty Betty. I'm here in Sedona, Arizona, and I'm going to be reviewing this beautiful Live Intrigue X. It's 140 travel in the shock and 150 mil of travel in the front. So this bike comes spec'd with a Fox 36 fork, the Performance Elite. It's got the Grip 2 damper. We've got a Fox Float X. We've got SRAM axis shifting here, XO. Also got these nice XO SRAM cranks. It's a really nice drivetrain we got on here. And we've got Dior XT brakes on this bike. And this bike is set on 229s. If you get a small or an extra small, this bike comes mullet, so that's gonna be a 27.5 wheel in the back and a 29er in the front. The medium and large come spec'd with 229s, but you could mullet your medium or large to customize it if you wish. Yeah, so good. I love that high stack. Great for technical climbing and setting the front wheel on ledges if you're climbing ledges. And the rear suspension feels fantastic on the climbs. So the longer travel Intrigue is definitely meant to prioritize downhill more. It's got some climbing performance and it'll get you to the top of the mountain. But if you do more of a balance between climbing and descending, then this shorter travel version of the Intrigue is the one that's designed for you. Yeah. I really like the feel of the rear suspension on this bike. A lot of times you feel like you're choosing, well, do I want something that's gonna maybe be a little less efficient on the climbs, but I'm gonna have amazing traction and that back wheel's gonna be glued to the ground? Or do I want something that when I'm climbing and need a burst of power, it's gonna give me a little bit more of a firm platform to push off of? This bike actually has a pretty good balance. It's a lot of time it's kind of an either or thing. I don't know if it's just because maybe as a lighter rider, I have a hard time optimizing the suspension performance sometimes. So could be the tune on this is more for a rider like me, I don't know, but I get a good balance of great climbing traction, but when I need a burst of power or I need to lift my rear wheel, I don't feel like I'm losing a ton of energy squishing into the suspension. Yeah, I really love my climbing body position. It's really easy to get forward on the bike. Sometimes women's specific bikes, sometimes the geometry tries to push you farther back. And it's like, that's a cute idea, but I like to climb, yo. And so I'm really enjoying my climbing position on this bike. Allows me to be very aggressive with a little less input. So this bike does have a little bit of adjustable geometry. It's got that reach adjust up here with the different plates you can put in. You can plus or minus a little bit of length in the reach. And it also has a chip adjustment on the back of the bike that can help adjust things like the head tube angle, seat tube angle, change the feel of the suspension a little bit. I play around with those a little. I've been happiest in the neutral position. It gives me that good balance of climbing and descending performance. Really happy with the length of this bike. I'm 5'4", and I think that the reach on this is in the 440s, which is a good balance. You can find longer bikes, but I feel like this gives me a good, it's long enough to be long, but it's not short. So if I'm gonna ride this down a little bit of steep stuff, I'm not gonna feel super scary like I'm oozing out of the cockpit. I can still feel tucked in, yet, you know, combined with the steep seat tube angle and the high stack, I feel like it takes very little energy for me to get in my most forward and aggressive climbing position. So even though this bike has 10 mil more travel than bikes like the Giuliano Furtado that I did a review on not too long ago, and the Rocky Mountain Instinct, this bike has like 10 more travel, but In terms of performance, it can absolutely hang with those two bikes on the climbs. Very comparable performance on the climbs. I don't feel like I'm being penalized for pedaling around an extra 10 mil. A lot of times I'll take a bike out for a ride or two before I put it on the scale. This size medium weighed in at around 31.7 or 0.8. That being said, it rides like it's even a pound lighter. Like, I feel like this bike easily rides like a 30-pound bike. That's probably a lot to do with just the geometry. That steep seat tube angle, kind of the sweet spot of reach that's not too long, not too short, and the high stack. Body position can absolutely change the weight and feel of a bike. I would also say the suspension, the feel of the rear suspension, I believe is also contributing to just how light this bike feels. I've been on a lot of bikes, and I've even been on a lot of bikes with women specific tunes over the years, but I feel it more on this bike than I have on others. Absolutely loving the tune. I feel like Liv did things to give this bike a bit of its own flavor in this travel range. I think bikes with 150 mil forks, everyone thinks they need to be like 63-degree head tube angles, and they need to be like 460 millimeters long, and I don't think we need that. I think we need bikes like this that are a little more agile in this travel range. And I wouldn't say that the geometry on this bike isn't aggressive. It's still, that head tube angle is like 64 to 65, which is great, but I mean, everyone's taken geometry to extremes these days. I feel like we've kind of pushed things to the limit, and people are kind of trying to find a practical balance now. So taking a closer look at the wheel and tire spec, we've got some nice carbon rims on here, and we've got Maxxis Minion DHFs that are 2.5 wide in the front. In the rear, we've got a dissector, which is a great rear tire, and this one is 2.4 wide. But there's also something that just makes this bike feel a little more precise, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it's a little more elegant in the handling, both at high and low speeds. Just a little, I don't know, just that little something that as a petite female rider, I feel like with a little less effort, I can put this bike where I need it. And so I don't know what's going into the details, but it does have a little bit of that secret sauce for me. This bike also came with the integrated stem and bar combo. Honestly, like, it's cool. These are just a nice carbon setup. I could take it or leave it though. It's fine. I don't really have an objection to it. But I will say one of the fun things about bikes is swapping out stems and swapping out bars and seeing like the different ride characteristics of different length stem or a different feel in the bar. I guess one thing that is potentially a downside of having like an integrated stem and bar set is that you can't swap those two parts out individually, which is not a deal breaker, but it's just something to think about. All right. You're pointed downhill. Roll. Yeah, finesse. Sometimes when I haven't ridden this trail in a while, as is the case today, it takes me a couple goes. But this bike, I can just, when I need to climb at the last minute, I can finesse it right where I need it. Whee! I think another nice thing about this bike being a size where it's long enough that I can feel tucked in at higher speeds, but short enough that I feel like I can get my weight over the front end of the bike on high speed corners. That really helps. When I can put, I mean, not that you're putting a ton of pressure on the front, but that front suspension and the whole front end of the bike just handles better with just a little bit of pressure on it. And this bike does that really well. Ah, that rear suspension just feels mwah, chef's kiss. And I will say too, like, compared to a lot of the other bikes that I've ridden, sometimes when you're smaller, it takes you a little while to get the compression right, get the rebound right, and figure out a happy place with the pressures, you know, being a light rider. But this one, it was like, I think I only made one adjustment after my initial setup, and that never happens. Woohoo! Yeah, bike handled that climb really well. It's not an easy one. Another secret sauce thing on this bike is the chainstay. It feels long and stable when I need it long and stable, but at slower speeds through tech, through climbing, it maneuvers like the chainstay is shorter than it is. But maybe what I'm feeling is this nice short wheelbase. Not like crazy short wheelbase, but for its class, it runs a little shorter. And so being on 229s on this medium, it still handles expertly. And as I said, the small and extra small come mullet, so they'll have a smaller wheel in the back, 27.5, and then the medium and up is on 229s. But you can turn your larger bike, medium or large, into a mullet if you want, which is a fun option. So who is this bike not for? I would say if you're doing a lot of like enduro style riding, but your climbs are not very technical, not very demanding, or maybe you're not doing really long days on the bike, just doing 1 or 2 runs and you're done, I think a longer travel bike might work. Or maybe you are a rider who isn't doing the super demanding downhills, and maybe you can go with a lower travel bike altogether. So who is this bike for? I would say this is a great bike for someone who is wanting to ride kind of enduro-like downhills, but you're either doing really long days on the bike, so being on a lighter bike is going to help you, or you've got technical climbs, single track climbs. I think this bike is going to be a really good sweet spot kind of bike for you. I also think that there is a big group of female riders who, some of you guys have come from like road or gravel and you're dabbling in mountain biking. Maybe you've got like a 120 or lower travel bike and you've been thinking about going with something with more travel, but you just don't want something unwieldy. I think this is a good in between. You've got 140, 150 mil of travel, which for me, that's about as much as I like to go with no matter what I'm riding, just in terms of the bike being manageable. But like I said, this bike's personality is gazelle. Despite the fact that it's got a good amount of travel, it's a gazelle. And so if you're nervous about going to a higher travel bike, you're just afraid the bike's gonna ride you, this is a bike worth looking at for sure. This bike was a lot of fun out here. Definitely hits the sweet spot with this kind of riding that I like to do. I loved the feel of the suspension. The integrated bar and stem thing is cool. I could take it or leave it though. Same thing with the electronic shifting. It's cool, it's fun, it feels amazing and crisp, but it's not a must. So if you're looking for ways to maybe save on your build, like check out other build specs, because this is a great bike. You could maybe get a slightly different spec, save a little bit of money there, and make this bike something that you could take home, even on a little bit smaller budget. Anyway, had a lot of fun on this bike. It makes me excited to branch out and ride more libs. It's been a few years since I've been on like their cross country bike and things like that, but I had a lot of fun. Definitely in the entire lineup, this one hits the sweet spot for me in the, you know, mixture of black diamond and blue square trails that I ride the most here in Sedona, Arizona. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this, found it useful. Let me know if you have any other questions that I can help answer about this bike, and check out more details in the description. Big thanks to Jewel Bow. If you want to check out these beautiful frequency glasses that I just got, they fit my little petite face very well. I will have a link in the description, and don't forget to use my link to save some money at checkout.